Okay, I think this is working now. Sorry about that. YouTube had an error, it looked like. Okay, so I think we're live. All right, if we are, great. Hi, welcome back to another AnyRPG Development Livestream. In these videos, I livestream the development of the AnyRPG Engine, a 100% free and open source role-playing game engine designed in Unity and written in C#. These videos are unscripted and give you a chance to take a behind-the-scenes look at the unfiltered, methodical side of software development. For more information on AnyRPG, be sure to check out AnyRPG.org, where you can find documentation on the engine, links to the full source code at the official GitHub repository, and downloadable versions of AnyRPG Alpha, a free game designed to showcase the features of the AnyRPG engine. If you like this content or would like to see more of it in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to the Cohesion YouTube channel, thumbs up the videos, or just leave a message in the comments letting me know what you would like to see. In today's episode, we will be adjusting our package to meet some of the Unity Asset Store guidelines. So in the last episode, we got a Unity package exported and we were able to import it and have it come into a new project with all the settings correct and basically everything self-contained. It just worked pretty much right out of the box with no issues. But unfortunately, that may not be possible with the Unity Asset Store. So essentially, I had a good read through the submission guidelines here on the Asset Store. And there's a couple of things which are like a little bit confusing here. So first of all, when they say licenses in your products, it says any license that require a product to maintain open source or limit usability in commercial products, for example, Creative Commons that requires attribution, will not be allowed. And so one of my assets that I used here that I thought, oh, this is great. I've got this awesome fishing rod, and I look at it and it says remix, transform, build for any purpose, even commercially. But this is a Creative Commons attribution, so I don't really understand what the issue is, because like if we look at the MIT license, which is basically Unity's license, it says the exact same thing. You can redistribute, sell, etc., and you just have to keep the notice. So the Creative Commons attribution right here and the MIT license are logically equivalent, yet Unity's submission guidelines say MIT is okay, but CC isn't. But that makes absolutely no sense because they're 100% logically equivalent. So I think I'm just going to submit it and see what happens. So what I've done is I actually, to meet their guidelines pretty much, like you have to have licenses basically. And let's see what else. There's a couple other interesting bits and pieces in their thing here. This where is it? Right here, tools, somewhere down here. Yeah, this is an interesting one. That menu with the export option that I had, we're supposed to have them under tools. So what I did is went into the export package and then just changed that to tools, and now you see when you go into Unity it's under tools AnyRPG instead. So I had to change that to comply with their stuff. In order to get all the licenses in, I have a file here that basically states like where you can find the licenses for all the content, and so anything that's actually included like directly in, I moved right into the actual example folder, because when Unity found the dependencies up here before, it's only bringing in like the graphical files and stuff, not the whole directory, and we want to make sure we have the whole directory because that's like where the licenses are. So that's why I've moved these right into here. And let's see, there's right, and then I also have licenses here for the stuff that's still up there, like the huge mocap and the raw mocap data. That stuff is obviously too huge to include with the package. Unity's guidelines state that you can't have a package bigger than 4 gigabytes, basically. So I had to make all of those changes to the project, and I'm gonna have to, like, apparently the online documentation isn't good enough, so I'm going to have to actually include a bunch of documentation in the package. So I'll have to go write that. What I'll do is I'll make a bunch of like tutorial videos and then just sort of make documentation from them, post them on the website, and then like copy it into a PDF or something to include in the package. Let's see what else is. Yeah, here this one really sucks. Do not include the standard assets folder in your submission. If you have a demo scene that uses any standard assets, include documentation for the users to import the standard assets themselves. So this completely violates the like runs right out of the box bit, because essentially in the project here you can see we've got these fonts, and actually it's kind of silly, like, to not include these fonts, because Open Sans, if you know, you go and look it up, that Unity doesn't actually even own that. Here you can look at Open Sans right here, and it's a Google font, right? So or yeah, designed by this guy. Whatever the case is, it's an open font, right? So I think, like, technically you could probably just, because like if you look in the Explorer directory right here and look at the fonts, they're just TTF files. So like you could have downloaded those from anywhere. Those, like, Unity doesn't own them, but this shader right here, the light projector, it's the only thing that I need from the standard assets folder. It's a casting projector, and like I really wish that Unity allowed you to distribute this thing on the asset store. If you look, where are we here? Back at the page 2, there's some more issues with their submission guidelines that really sort of make it difficult to give, like, to put a whole package together here. And here we go. Submissions that include any content from another asset store package is a violation of the asset store provider agreement and will be rejected. Now this is one that really worries me, because this can be interpreted in so many different ways right here. So here's a problem, basically. I'm using the Carnegie Mellon mocap library for the animations for my characters, fighting animations and crafting animations, and I'm using the raw mocap data for the animations for movement and strafing, basically. So if you look at those, I mean, the total size of these files is like ridiculously small. Let's just do a properties on this controller here, right? Like, well, 24 megs, okay. And then in the huge mocap library right here, I've got another, what, like 53 megs of animations. But anyway, like, it's not a huge amount. There's like 10 from each, and this thing has 2,500. But since somebody went and published the Carnegie Mellon huge mocap library on the asset store, does that mean technically that my content or my submission includes content from another asset store package? Because, well, yeah, it does actually in that case. I mean, like, anybody can upload anything from any other public domain project onto the asset store, and all of a sudden, if you've used that previously, like if someone uploaded that fishing rod or the pig, then do I technically now have content from it's the pig or whatever, right? Similarly, same deal with UMA. UMA is like absolutely required for this thing to run, and in fact, it's like we need it so badly that I actually have the UMA DCS right here inside of the game manager. It's actually like built right into it, basically. And technically, UMA also is published on the asset store. So by including UMA, am I violating their policy here because I'm including content from another package? I don't know. So I was looking at the FAQ, and it basically says like, am I allowed to use content from the public domain? Basically, yeah, as long as it's redistributable. Well, okay, that includes UMA, right? Because technically UMA, open source, public domain, right? And what about those open sans fonts that are part of the standard assets? Those are technically public domain, right? So realistically, like this on the this one rule says I'm allowed to distribute them, but then their other rule says that maybe not. And then reading this answer to the FAQ, they actually make it like even more confusing, because on the submission guide over here, they're basically like, no, any content from any asset store package is a complete violation, right? But then over here, they say you're not allowed to redistribute as an asset package or with very little changes made, and you can't resell it identically or duplicate it. Well, this is actually like in complete contradiction of the wording that they've got right here. This is just, you can't include any amount of content. Like I read that to say like you can't even include one single file from another asset store package, because it doesn't say that include another asset store package in whole, right? Like that seems to mean any part of it. But this right here basically implies that if I'm not essentially redistributing an entire package, or I've like included it as just a tiny part of my project, then it may be okay, because, well, A, I'm not reselling it, so I'm not making any profit, and B, I definitely, like, I'm not just identically duplicating it and renaming it. So their submission guidelines are really like confusing there. So what I wanted to do basically is just sort of go through like maybe a little bit of a worst case scenario exercise here, and try exporting the package in a bunch of different ways, trying to comply with literally all of their wording, and see how much it destroys the user experience. And then depending on how much their guidelines cause the user experience to get destroyed, I am either going to just have this thing downloadable directly as like a full and complete package on AnyRPG.org, or maybe I'll try submitting it and just hope that, you know, they're a little more reasonable than their submission guidelines state, because it's very clear looking at this project that I'm like not just a second. It's very clear looking at this project that I'm not like trying to claim that any of this work is my own. They're you know, they're in directories that are very clearly named third-party content, and it's also very clear that I'm not trying to like just redistribute other people's stuff just for the sake of getting more downloads. I mean, AnyRPG is a humongous effort. There's over 1,000 hours of work that went into it, and the content that's in there is basically just to sort of enable the engine to have a good experience out of the box, like in an example format where you don't have to spend a bunch of hours yourself trying to put everything together. So I'm really hoping that they're going to be reasonable about that. So right now, I'm going to do the first test, and basically the first test is going to be exporting the engine and the examples folder, because those are theoretically now entirely self-contained. I moved UMA right into the engine. Oh yeah, another issue was one of their submission guidelines as well. Basically, I think it's like down here. Yeah. Where is it here? Yeah. you have to nest everything underneath your own folder. So like you can see right here, when I import it, I have AnyRPG, but I also have standard assets in UMA, so technically that isn't everything nested under my own folder. I wonder if that's like a new rule, because like I know I've downloaded a whole pile of assets from the asset store that are just terrible and just clutter up your root directory with like 10 different directories. So maybe like they added that rule and they're just grandfathering those packages or something. So anyway, let's try to export that. Theoretically, like we really don't even have to go select dependencies on these because they should be self-contained. So we'll try that. So this is basically test case number one, and test case number one is like Unity package with UMA, but no standard assets. And I want to see what the import looks like if we get any error messages, because there's also a rule on the submission page that's like even a more confusing. Basically, they tell you like if you have third-party content, you're supposed to put like you're just supposed to put like instructions in for like how your user is supposed to where is it here? Basically, like for how your user is supposed to set the thing up. Yeah. So to avoid context, you may be asked to remove third-party libraries or SDKs. Your users will need to be informed where to download them through your documentation. And there's a bunch of other spots where they say like, like standard assets. Where's that again? They say something basically about the standard assets. Yeah, you have to include documentation on how to set up your scene and allow the users to import the standard assets themselves, which is just like it's a terrible user experience. Like nobody who cares about their users makes them do stuff like that. So, okay, yeah, that's good. This is our export. So we'll export that, and I'm going to call this the AnyRPG-Engine UMA 0.6a right, Unity package. And then we'll need to go to Unity Hub and create a new no, actually what we can do is we can just go into our existing Unity Hub yeah, so Unity Hub, there we go. Let's pin that to the start menu. We've got a project in here for importing the AnyRPG Engine. So this is, yeah, we'll have to get rid of basically everything here. So get rid of the standard assets, get rid of UMA, okay, so we've got the package that just includes UMA but not anything else, and then let's delete that. Okay, and let's now try just importing this thing to see what the experience is like. Do we get any errors because of the missing fonts or the missing like dependencies, basically? So one of the issues here is that when we import this stuff, their submission guidelines state that you can't have errors. So where does it say like errors? Yeah, package cannot throw any generic errors after setup is complete, and any errors present in your project should only be those that are from caught and handled exceptions. But if you like rely on something in the standard assets package, then theoretically you could attempt to compile and get a whole pile of errors. So like there are two rules in that case would actually be in contradiction with each other, because rule 1 says you can't have errors and rule 2 says you have to remove something, which is going to give you a bunch of errors. So this is another area where it's not exactly clear what you're supposed to do in that situation. So we'll let this package import here. Then what I want to do is back in our main package here, I want to take UMA and I want to pull it back out into the main directory, and I want to perform an export with just the engine and example directories with UMA out of it. And so like having to pull UMA out is an absolute worst case scenario. Like if Unity's like really picky about that, even though it's like basically a core part of the engine, if they make me do that, then I want to see what that user experience is going to be like. I don't think it'll be pretty though. Part of the problem is like ordering for the imports. So if you have like, let's say for example I import the standard assets first into a new project and then I import any RPG into it, that I think would be okay, because then all the dependencies would exist at the time that you pull it in. But with UMA there's some issues, like some big issues basically. So UMA contains a bunch of stuff that's inside of, I don't remember what it's called, like bundled packages or something like that. And unbundling all of the stuff from the UMA packages, I think last time I tried to do it, it was a horrendously long, like 30-minute or hour or 2-hour process or something. I don't remember, but it was just like, I remember it being extremely painful. And so if we go into the engine here and we look at this UMA directory and this extracted content, this is all the stuff. Okay, interesting. YouTube is giving me an error that we're not receiving enough audio or video. I don't know why I get this, really. No idea, because I've got like a great internet connection, 75 megabits upstream. Anyway, so these things right here, I'm just going to look at Streamlabs. Streamlabs isn't even telling me that there's any dropped frames or anything. Usually it would do that too. Okay, sorry about that. These things right here are all part of the UMA content, basically. And if those, yeah, that's what they're called, asset bundles. So if these asset bundles exist inside of the UMA folder there, you have to extract them, which isn't a great process. So I've pulled them all out here manually so that all this stuff can just be used like right out of the box with the engine without a whole pile of configuration and setup. The problem is like what'll happen because of the way that hashes work, when we import UMA, if we pull in the UMA package first and then pull in the AnyRPG package, theoretically it'll find these file hashes are exactly the same as the file hashes in the UMA package, recognize this as part of the content of the UMA package, and then refuse to import it because it already exists, which would mean that it would be still in the directory structure in the bundled assets stuff, which means that none of it would work out of the box, and we'd probably get errors when we tried to display it. So that's the problem with the ordering, is like you would essentially need to import the AnyRPG package first, but then you could get errors. So let's see. Wow, I'm kind of surprised we don't have any errors here. This is our import that we just tried. So I guess we need to grab the standard assets package and import those fonts. And the light projector. Okay, so here I am, user experience time. I'm a user. I just need the fonts and the light projector in order for this thing that I just downloaded from the asset store to work. Wow, why is this author making me go through hundreds of stuff here and try to like find this needle in the haystack here? So, okay, I don't need audio mixers, I don't need materials, I don't think. I don't need the menu, I don't think. Models, very likely not. Nav mesh, prefabs, very likely not. Okay, scenes, yeah, don't need those, I don't think. Scripts, don't need those. Shaders, skybox procedural, don't need those. Oh, I don't need the entire sample scenes folder. Okay, so down to the standard assets. I don't know, is it in the 2D? Maybe not, maybe. Let's see, cameras, I don't think it's in there. Characters, I hope it's not in there. Cross-platform input, I bet it's not in there. It's probably not in editor. We have a glass stained shader there, but it's not that. But these shaders are all over the place, so how do I know that my projector shader isn't down? Hey look, there's my projector shader. Okay, so basically, let's see, I would have to do this, right? So far, I mean, that's already like a minute or two of searching through stuff. Can I get rid of this YouTube error over here? Sorry, YouTube's still got a yellow bar telling me it's not receiving enough video, but I'm looking at the preview and the preview is looking fine. Okay, anyway, so where are my fonts? Well, that's a good question. There we go. Okay, so there's the fonts. All right. So then I gotta like manually go down and uncheck all of this other stuff right here. That's a lot of stuff to uncheck. Okay. So as a user now, I just had to spend like an extra 3 minutes checking through the standard assets for all this stuff. All right. So let's just try loading the game now and see how it goes. So play. New game. And what do I want to do here? I want a vendor and I want to buy something from him. Are these free? Darn it. Oh yeah, I need need silver to buy them. Okay. And I can't get silver yet. Anyway, what I wanted to check basically was whether or not I can cast abilities that have a projector requirement. I have to go kill something to make that happen though. Okay, anyway, I guess that's good enough. It'll probably work. So let's test the worst case scenario now. The worst case scenario is I can't include UMA. Wow, no, that would be like absolutely terrible. Okay, let's examine scenario number 2 where I can't include. Ooh, I can't include the base UMA package, but actually, like technically, if we're in a scenario where I can't include the base UMA package, then I probably can't even include this UMA content that I've extracted out of here. And okay, so let's look at what that could look like. First, let's look at what it would look like if somebody like imports this in the wrong order. Assuming I'm allowed to use the extracted content, although this is not a highly realistic scenario because if I can't use the base package, like the entire thing, it's very unlikely that I can use the extracted stuff. So we have the engine folder and the example folder, and we'll export those. And this one is going to be called AnyRPG-Engine-Light-0.6a.eu. Right, don't need to add that. That'll be added automatically. Let's hit save and see what happens. In the meantime, let's test that import again on this stuff. Actually, you know what? I want to see what happens if someone forgets to import the standard assets and just tries to play the game. I'm actually really interested what would happen. So let's go figure that out because, you know, you can't guarantee people will read stuff, and it's always good to know what'll happen when users don't read stuff. I like to design systems that don't require a user to read stuff and have it like break if they didn't read stuff. It's just an extremely unfriendly way of treating your users. As far as I'm concerned, like basically like UIs and software, if a user is about to break something, the software should just not let them. So let's try to get some silver so I can buy a spell. And once I buy that spell, then I'll be able to test my casting projector. So just go through this. Okay, and actually this is probably almost good enough. So let's go over to our combat scene here and see. Oh, that's odd. Okay. Oh, of course. I I really do have to go select dependencies when I export this thing because of the fact that a bunch of those animations are up in the Carnegie Mellon directory. Right, okay, that makes things even funner. Because basically, like, if I've got UMA included in there, the select dependencies thing takes like a year. Let's see. So I have the light package. We know that's not really going to work right now, though. So let's actually. I'm really curious because I want to sort of try like this whole worst case scenario thing here. I want to pull the UMA content out and stick it up in third-party content in the content folder instead. And then let's try and export. So basically we need to take engine, an example, go select dependencies so we actually get like all the animations this time. Oh, my message went away on YouTube there. That's good. Okay, there we go. So now we've got all those. Now we want to basically export the package, uncheck include dependencies, and we want to uncheck UMA, uncheck standard assets, and uncheck UMA down there. Okay. This will give the engine plus just those animations that we have included there. So let's export those, and this will be the actual real light package. Okay, so basically the package is 74 megs, and like 70 megs of that is just the animations. Or only like 2 megs of that or something. Okay, so for this Unity package, good. So we can test the import of that over here. And to do that, we're going to need to delete the AnyRPG folder. Go to assets, import, whoops, no, we want to go to assets, import package, custom package. We're going to grab the light package here. Okay, now this is where we find out what happens when UMA is not included. So let's import this. So right now we're missing the fonts from the standard asset, we're missing the lighting projector, and we're missing UMA. So basically what we're doing is replicating maybe what would be the user experience if somebody downloads the worst case scenario version of this package off the asset store. Actually, in a worst case scenario, they actually reject the bamboo fishing rod as well, because that's a Creative Commons license, even though it's identical to the MIT licenses that are allowed. And in that case, we'll just stick a gray pole in his hand like the rest of the prefabs, but hopefully it doesn't get to that. All right, that is exactly what I figured was going to happen. So this is the user experience if you follow their rules exactly. I am really not sure what to do about this, because if you follow all of their submission guides to the letter, my package cannot throw any generic errors after setup is complete. What do they mean by setup? By setup, do they mean import, or by setup, do they mean after a user reads the directions and realizes that they have to go do a bunch more stuff? Second, this is a terrible user experience. Totally terrible user experience. So somebody downloads your package and they're like, wow, what's this junk? It's totally broken. I bet you it's probably just not compatible with my version of Unity. I'm gonna delete this and I'll go try something else, basically. I mean, that's, I think, what like most people would do, because most people just don't have the patience to fix a row full of errors like this. And they're going to be looking at it and they're going to be going like, what the heck, man, seriously. So let's pretend they found our file and they're like, oh, I see, okay, now I have to go do a bunch more stuff. Well, that's not very fun. Why didn't the author just bundle all that stuff with it? Because that would be a way better user experience, right? And then they're going to get mad at me for delivering them like this junk package that's broken out of the box. So let's see, let's go through and figure out what their experience is going to be if they actually don't go and delete this thing off the board and decide, okay, fine, I'll read these directions and spend like another 30 minutes downloading more stuff just to get your junky package to work. Alright, so now let's see, we take out the standard, the scenes, and I can't search through this either. So as a user, this is going to annoy the heck out of me too. It's like, okay, well, I just want the fonts. Can I type in font anywhere? No, there's no search box. Okay, well, what kind of silly import screen is this if there's no search box, right? So, okay, cool, I found the fonts. And where's our projector material? I don't know, it's hard to tell because there's nothing called projector materials here, so I kind of got to guess. Okay, like, is it under particle systems? No. Is it under physics materials? No. Is it under prototyping? No. Well, where is it then? Is it under, I don't know, is it under effects, maybe? Okay, fine, there it is, under effects. Okay, cool. So finally, yeah, now, alright, I got this. Alright, I'm going to import that stuff. And at this point, I'd just be wondering, like, man, why didn't the author bundle this stuff? Because, like, as an end user, I'm not going to go realize that the Unity Asset Store decided to tell us that we couldn't bundle that. I'm just going to, like, blame the author for it, right? I'm going to be like, man, this guy's such a noob. He doesn't know what he's doing. So, Okay, so next up, let's pretend I still haven't garbaged this package by now, and I'm like, all right, I'm really, really desperate. There's no other free like role-playing game creators out there on the internet, so fine, I'll go through this. Okay, here's this UMA 2 thing, and maybe I get confused too. I'm like, man, look at this. This is my UMA 2, and he said this was a free package, and I have to pay $300 for this UMA RPG Starter 2, not realizing that it's actually UMA 2 that he might have to download. Or he sees like DK UMA 2 Lite and makes a mistake that I did and download that, and think that it actually had something to do with UMA, when it's totally not put out by them at all. Or maybe he downloads. Actually, there's a couple more UMA things here. Where are they? They're like these things right here. This is absolutely terrible because if you look at this, you're like, wow, cool, this is a really free asset, and you download it, and it's like, oh, by the way, in order to get this asset to work, you have to go buy this other paid asset. So, like, sending your user to the asset store and telling him to do this stuff, it's just like a recipe for disaster because you can't control user behavior and you don't know what they're going to think or how they're going to interpret these directions. Anyway, so pretending still that we haven't gotten annoyed and deleted this package by now as the end user, we're going to download and import this UMA thing. So we're going to do that, and let's see. Okay, we're just going to like import it all. Sure, why not? Because I don't know any better. I'm like totally new to this whole gaming thing, and I just wanted to download this AnyRPG because it promised me that I could make a game without writing a single line of code, but like, what are all these errors? So, I mean, just thinking about your target audience, right? Like, who's going to be using this thing, right? Um, and that's what the whole point of this project is, to make video game and story creation more accessible to non-technical people. But like, if you have to go through all this to make it work, then like it's a huge miss. That's not your target audience. People who know how to do this, people who know how to do this probably already paid for like URPG or like atavism or something like that, right? So okay. So anyway, now we're going through and we're importing a bunch of stuff. All right, and this takes a little while, I guess. All right, so still going, still waiting. Okay, and we almost there, maybe. Okay, finally, and we're like, oh, okay, awesome. Now this thing finally works. Um, so then, let's see, what's our user experience like now? We're going to go into the example load game manager, double click it, press play, see what happens. So, new game, yep. And boom! Look at that. So, this is what I was referring to with the stuff that the UMA stuff is in like an asset bundle. Um, Man, it's such a terrible user experience. It really is. It's just really okay. YouTube is now telling me that my stream's audio bitrate is 0. And then it's telling me I have an excellent connection, and Streamlabs is, okay, weird. Anyway, so anyway, we get this. And now I'm just like, man, what the heck is going on here? And I double click on this, right? Because I'm a new user testing this package out as a new user would. And then I'm like in this dynamic slot library thing, and I'm like, okay, WTF. And like, I don't know what the DL slot library is or why it can't be found, right? Like, I followed this guy's directions, I imported UMA, and it still doesn't work. Well, of course it doesn't, because if you look at the UMA package here, and you look at the examples, let's actually just see if we can find it. Challenger, yeah, here. So male Challenger shoulder pads, right? And you're like unable to find male Challenger shoulder pads. And then you look at this and you're like, well, I see 3 sets of male Challenger shoulder pads, right? And you're like, okay, well, here's a male Challenger shoulder pad slot, so why is the slot library unable to find this, right? Like, and you're just thinking like, oh my god, what's going on? So the reason is right here, demo asset bundles. This is part of an asset bundle, and an asset bundle is not automatically added to the UMA global library. So let's take a look at the UMA global library. Global library window. It's kind of empty, right? UMA wardrobe collection, 0. These items, not very many of them. Let's go back to our main project and look at the UMA global library there and see what it looks like. Yeah, so 197, 185, 1, 217, 10. Basically, all these have big numbers on them, and when you look over here, those numbers are considerably smaller. So if you go rebuild from project, I don't think it's going to change anything. We can test it. The list changed a little bit, but I still don't think that it did the unbundling thing. Let's press play and just see if the thing crashes again. Play, new game, yes. And boom, crashed again. Okay, so that doesn't work, right? And this is like, I went through this before, and as a new user to this stuff, it's incredibly confusing. Like, okay, well, I rebuilt the global library, and rebuilding the global library is all I got to do for these asset or to get things in, right? No, not all you got to do. There's more. So where is it here? Asset bundle manager settings. There we go. So I think this is what we want to do. We want to go build asset bundles. Okay, and it looks like it's done, but it's not, right? The window's like still flashing stuff. Okay, so now I think we have asset bundles. Oops, let's go back to the console and let's clear this. Okay, and now we're gonna press play again. You know what? We still have that error there. Can't find the shoulder pads. Let's see. File, new game. Yes. Right, and boom, we're crashed again. All right. So that's like the terrible thing is like even when you build the asset bundles, this stuff doesn't work here. It still just like doesn't find it for some reason. So this is why I just went and I'm like, man, I'm not gonna put my users through that. It's just a ridiculously terrible user experience, and that's why I literally pulled all that UMA stuff out, and that's why you see like my shoulder pads and stuff are in here. because if you pull them out of these directories, like out of the UMA directory structure, then they're considered to no longer be in the asset bundles. But you literally have to like pull them out and just put them in directories uname, because if you just copy the directories they're in and move them around, the meta files inside of them will keep them like inside those asset bundles. So honestly, like I don't even remember how we were supposed to do this here. Like I think let's see, if I go into demo asset bundles and I go select dependencies and I get 501 objects, and then I think like if I go add selected assets to UMA global library, nothing, right? Okay. And if I just go like UMA and I go add selected assets to UMA global library, nothing. And if I go over to UMA here and I go over to the global library window and I click like rebuild from project, that list still hasn't changed, right? So as a user, like especially a new user trying to download this package and trying to get the thing to work, there's no way. Like I'm just going to give up right now and I'm just going to delete the package. Like what is this garbage? Why did this guy make this so hard to use, right? Like that's what I would be thinking right now if I was downloading AnyRPG under the strictest definitions of Unity's asset store policy. So I honestly, I don't even remember how, like, because I thought rebuild asset bundles was like the only thing that was needed for that, right? Because basically, like, what happens is, even if I go into here, right, and even if, yeah, I go into all this stuff and I go add selected assets to global library, they totally won't because they're in an asset bundle. And it wasn't clear at all. How do I Unity how to unbundle asset bundles, right? Because I asked Unity to unbundle the thing and it didn't work, right? So is it the asset bundle manager? Deprecated. All right. So if it's deprecated, then we probably don't want to use that, right? So, I mean, I'm just, as a new user, once again, going through this and thinking, okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? I probably, as a new user, don't even get to the part where I figure out that it's an asset bundle issue, because that even took me like 3 or 4 hours of searching to figure out. As a completely new user, I just can't imagine that any of this information is going to be useful to me. So, looking through their documentation is, as always, not very helpful. And this only tells you how to bundle assets. But like this isn't very useful to somebody who's just trying to set this thing up without writing code, right? Like the whole point is you download this thing out of the box, it works. You don't have to write code, you don't have to look at code. So, troubleshooting, I don't know. It's funny they don't have like a how to unbundle here, right? They've got everything about bundling but nothing about unbundling. Like, what's the point if it's useless and you can't use it? Because it's bundled and you can't unbundle it. Okay, yeah, so honestly, like, yeah, just really bad user experience. Once you have built your bundles, this local server. Oh, is that what I have to do? Like, I have to start a server to be able to access my bundles. Okay. Let's see. So, press play. Play new game. Yes. And boom, it still doesn't work. Okay, well, like, what's wrong? There's a server. Why isn't the server working? Right, okay. So, UMA, I don't know. Do I need to go back to the global library? Like, is it going to work now that I have a server? Nope, apparently not. Okay, so let's go back to that UMA asset bundle manager. Make a testing build that uses the local server. I don't think that's what I want to do. I think this is going to try to actually build like a Unity. Yeah, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't. Stop, cancel. Alright, and Unity has crashed right on. So, thank you, Unity. Hitting the cancel button crashes Unity right on. Rad, and there's no fix available. So there you go, folks. If you want to crash Unity, hit the cancel button. Does it every time. Okay, so now, now imagine I'm a new user and I'm going through this, right? Like at this point, I'd just be giving up. I'd be like, man, what is this dumb Unity stuff? What is this dumb RPG stuff? I'm gonna go back to my life as an accountant or whatever it was before I decided to fulfill my dreams of making the world's best World of Warcraft clone or something, right? So let's let's go back into Unity and try to load that thing again. Let's see, which project was that? I have over here import test 2, and this is alpha, so that would have been the engine project right here. Okay, so we're back. We have our project. Let's see, we have the UMA asset bundle manager settings. So we didn't want that, definitely not. That's the button that crashes Unity. Actually, it's the cancel button on top of that. So now, like, okay, maybe we have to rebuild the asset bundles twice. Maybe we needed the server running the whole time. I don't know, right? So we try that again. Okay, and it says, yeah, sure, asset bundles successfully built. And you're like, okay, great. Well, I mean, those are asset bundles, right? So they must have been successfully built because the thing there says they were successfully built, right? And error messages always tell the truth, right? So play new game, yes, and boom. Like, okay, I give up. I'm throwing this Unity thing in the garbage, uninstalling it, and back to mountain biking or something, right? Like, this is this is the user experience if you have to try to download and install UMA separately with this thing. This is why UMA is heavily integrated directly into the core of this. Interestingly enough, I'm kind of, huh, that's interesting that the UMA DCS actually works. Oh, you know why? I know why it works. Because, no, that's kind of weird. Okay, so if I hit select, it's actually grabbing that UMA DCS. Interesting. I don't know if it does that on name or on hash, because essentially, like, I think if I have the UMA DCS in here and you download a different version of UMA with the DCS, like, is changed a little bit, I can't see this thing referencing that other one unless literally it just searches by name. So like I can't even find any information here on how we're supposed to unbundle those asset bundles or how we're supposed to make them available in the game. It just it totally doesn't make any sense here. Let's see. Maybe we need to just include text assets. Let's try that. See if that works. Okay, well, those numbers didn't change, but we now have 1,187 text assets. And if we look back here at our project where everything is working properly and we go to the global library window, we have 0. So we can be fairly confident that those are not going to fix anything. Let's try running the example game manager again. Play new game, yes. And boom, we're crashed again. Okay. So that definitely didn't do anything. I really don't see what else. I mean, there's only like 3 buttons on here. We've tried all of them except for the clean the cache. But I seriously doubt that's going to do much. Because we know this is like the crash Unity button. This is the doesn't do anything button. This is probably the also doesn't do anything button. So let's see, there's like literally almost 0 information on this online here. Alright, and the UMA documentation does not list asset bundles anywhere here. And if we search for asset bundles, we get like 3 pages, but I don't think any of them have anything useful on it. It just says loading from asset bundles. Well, cool. Right. So how does that work? Is there like a link that tells you how to do it? Let's see if I search for yeah, like there's a demo that has the ability to download asset bundles. I've tried that before, but that's not what we want. We don't want to download them. They're already in there in our project. Why would we download them when they're on disk, right? So yeah, not much help there. So let's see. We have some more information about asset bundles here. I wonder if we can just like search this thread for asset bundles. And let's see, I don't know if trying to look for anything that looks like it might be useful here that tells me how to actually use these asset bundles. This guy looks like he's having the same issue. Seems like Uma cannot find files from the library or asset bundles. But like no real answers. So let's see, anything else here about asset bundles? Going into the dynamic libraries and disabling the ability to load from asset bundles? Okay, how would we do that? Is there like an UMA dynamic libraries window? How do we go into the library? Huh. Okay, that's not much help. Where is the dynamic libraries and setting to disable it? Yeah, that's my question. Okay, items can be loaded 3 ways in UMA: from the scene, load from asset bundles, and load from... Okay, let's go look at the UMA DCS here. Does it have settings for this stuff? What is this? Make persistent, use encrypted bundles, remote server index, remote server URL, asset bundles to preload. Okay. And I guess we are not able to link to something there. So yeah, who knows? I don't know. Like, that's not a reference, that's a text field apparently. So what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to put in like the local server URL for that? Is that like let's see here. So if I go to UMA asset bundle managers and the server is started and the host address is that, I mean, this is remote server, not local server, so I mean, that's the question. Does that mean that it automatically goes to the local server, or does that mean that I have to use that in order for it to work? Let's find out. So play, new game, yes. And no, apparently that still doesn't work. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else in here. Yeah, look at that. Dynamically load from asset bundles. Alright, but it says asset bundles to search, right? But like, if you go to the asset bundle manager, where is the list of asset bundles? Like, it's not in the asset bundle manager, which is sort of like where logically you might expect that it would be. And like, is it, I don't know, dynamic DNA asset? I don't see like asset bundles here anywhere. So like, it doesn't look like this is the place to do it. What does add build references do? Nothing apparently. Okay. Right, so how, like, what am I supposed to type in there, right? That's not really clear. Dynamic slot library. Let's try dynamically add from asset bundles. And let's try dynamically add from asset bundles on that. Dynamically add from asset bundles on that. I don't think it's going to work. Like, I think we actually need names in there. So the dynamic asset loader, we know that that doesn't work because we just tried that. So, okay, so we have like all the asset bundle things checked that we could possibly check. So let's hit play and see if that works. Play, new game, yes. Whoa. Hold on, no way. Okay. Now, I can tell you that, like, so that's working for me, but if I was a new user and I had, like, no hours of experience in Unity, I don't think I would have figured that out. I don't think, like, I mean, I tried actually honestly figuring that out a long time ago, and I never actually even made it that far, I don't think. So, let's see here. I need to get to the spot where I actually, like, go kill some bunnies and get some leather, because I need to test this and see if it works. Let's see, use the bodymatic, save close, complete, whoa, I know Kung Fu, the awesome, the who, okay. Use blessing of the makers, right there. Put my speed of the wolf over there, go back down here, complete this, rar, way cool, okay, thanks, accept quest. Okay, and talk to this guy. Okay, and keep on going. Alright, good. So, yeah, right back here. Okay, cool, finally. Okay, now we can go up to the bunnies, and we're just gonna remove that. We're gonna put the spell in the first slot. We actually want the double jab at the end there, quadruple punch at the beginning, triple punch there. Perfect. So, over to the combat scene, and now let's go kill ourselves some fake bunnies. Alright, whack, 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 whack. Yeah, pow, and he's gone. And next guy down. Boom, 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 boom. Solar radiation. Good. Alright. Right, I have to actually finish this one. Take all. Do you know what I really feel like this demo could use? I feel like it could use like an item pickup with like a whole pile of gold or something like that. In fact, like, I think I'm gonna put one in because then I can just go buy stuff from the vendor right away. Anyway, I got my example leather, I got my skinning, I gotta use one more solar radiation. Boom, 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 hit him, take him out, and one more solar radiation, boom, there we go, good. So, let's go back. Okay, so that was it. We just gotta, I guess, check those global library things. Okay, so I guess the next question is going back. Our worst case scenario is a little less worse now, hopefully. Let's save that, and let's get out of here. And we want to, let's see, let's go back to our main package here and see if we can get an export of this thing. What do I need here? I need the example load game manager. We want to open up that. We want to open up the game manager. Then we want to go, okay. Yeah, so here's the problem. Well, we can test if this works or not. Okay, so basically the problem is that this UMA DCS isn't ours, it's in the UMA directory. So the question is, when we import our file that's referencing the UMA DCS with all of these settings in it, because see, when I right click this, that's the game manager. Interesting. I guess we'll find out. We're going to try this without a server, and I just want to see like how much stuff exactly our user has to actually do in the absolute worst case scenario. So this is good. I think this stuff is, it's not inside the UMA DCS, I doubt. I think it's probably just saved as overrides in the game manager, and to confirm that, let's go into the UMA DCS, and you can see, yeah, it's still not checked. Okay, so hopefully when we perform the import, that'll work. So now, once again, we want to go select dependencies on those two things. And we'll try exporting the light package again. And then I guess, let's see, so over here, let's just delete all that stuff. Oh, and you know what? Yeah, I want a chest of gold, but my other Unity window is now frozen up. Okay, here we are. Let's not export it yet. I really want a chest of gold, so let's go into prefabs, and we want an interactable, and we want an item pickup. So I'm gonna call this the example chest of silver pickup. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to call this one the example chest of gold pickup. And the chest of gold pickup gets the AnyRPG yellow cube. Do we not have a yellow cube 1 meter? Okay, well, whatever, it gets yellow cube 2 meter, then fine. And the chest of silver pickup. Is this the chest of silver? This is the chest of silver. This one gets the gray cube, 2 meters. Okay, and the chest of gold pickup has 0 prerequisite conditions. And the item name is, and where do we have it here? We've got in our example resources, items, currency. Okay, so we have example 1 gold and example 100 silver. So we'll go back into our item pickup, and chest of gold pickup gets an item name of example 1 gold. Chest of silver pickup gets 0 prerequisite conditions and example 100 silver. That looks good. So let's now go into our example default scene and open that up. Go into our default spawn location, click on the scene tab, hit F to focus, and we're just going to stick these like literally right in front of our character here. So we have our, where'd they go here? Example, chest of gold pickup, we'll just put right there, and the example chest of silver pickup right there. Perfect, so now when we start the game, we're going to be rich. We're not going to have to go kill mobs in order to be able to buy stuff off our vendor. To make our experience a little smoother, our GM vendor needs a couple of things. So, what's going on there? Whoa. Oh, darn, right. UMA contexts. Yikes. Okay, time for Unity to freeze up again. I don't have an UMA DCS in this scene, and I went and did the silly thing of selecting an UMA unit without an UMA DCS in the scene, which creates a temporary UMA context, and that takes forever. So let's go back to the example load game manager here. And now we can go look at that GM vendor, and it's not going to break stuff. So going back into our prefabs, character, AI, example, example GM vendor is not in here. Right. Weird. Where is he? Wow, really? My example load game manager has an UMA context. We shouldn't be. I mean, it has an UMA DCS in it, so. Oh, maybe it's the scene. Maybe if I have the scene window open, that's when it happens. Maybe like if I just have the console window open, it doesn't. Wow, okay. Yeah, I think what it did is it tried to load a picture of him in that scene, and since technically all prefabs are their own scene without an UMA DCS in it, yikes. So anyway, let's hit the X, and now we can see where he is. So this is basically the apprentice craftsman, and since we're not including him, we know that's not the one we use. So it's actually the example AI vendor, I bet. No, it's actually the example traveling salesman. because our example traveling salesman, you know what, let's just jump into the game. I just need to take a look at that really quickly. Because our example AI vendor's got 0 items. And I don't see an example traveling salesman in that folder there. Oh, because we call him example UMA vendor. And that little pause at the beginning, I think that was all the global assets getting loaded from the global asset library. That's another reason why I like them having them out and not in the asset bundles, because you don't get that freeze up at the beginning. The performance is a lot better. So this guy is called example UMA vendor. Okay, that's who we're using right here. So we're going to turn that off. We're going to go to our example UMA vendor. We're not going to open his prefab. So just looking down here, he sells a bunch of stuff, but we want him to sell the stuff for our quests. So I want to add like 5 more items to him. And let's see, condensed greater elemental death was the last one. Okay, so element 37 should be example linen. Great. Yeah, man, that sucks. Okay, so apparently it's going to create an UMA context anyway. I know this because I double clicked on it and the whole thing froze up. So that means it's definitely creating an UMA context. I really don't understand. Like, I have an UMA DCS. I've got a scene with the UMA DCS open, and it's still freezing up. And look at that. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. I wonder if it's like it's actually freezing up my whole computer, because I think I tend to notice that those YouTube error messages happen to come at the exact same time that this UMA or whatever, the Unity just freezes up in general. So we're going to click on this, and we want the example iron ore, and then we want the example flax. We want some example birch lumber, and we want the example polished blue gem, and let's see, that should be good for now. I think that basically gets us through like our first quest series without needing to spend a whole pile of time. You know what? Why don't we add iron bars as well? So 43 items, and we'll put actually, you know what, I want 44 because we're going to get the blue stone as well. So iron bars, and I think it's like the raw example bluestone. Okay, good. So that gives us the linen, the flax. How about some birch wood too? So 45 items, and example, right, birch wood. And I think that's good, right? We got the linen, the flax, the iron ore, the iron bar, the birch lumber, the birch wood, the bluestone, the polished blue gem. Oh, I think I overwrote the old polished blue gem. Okay, good. So anyway, we got all the stuff we need. Good, so let's save that. And now, like, we can do a lot quicker of a playtest now because we can just buy this stuff off our vendor. So we're gonna let's just go start a new game real quick. Make sure that works. What's going on in this window here? Nothing. Okay. Press play. And go into the game. Play. New game. Yes. Okay. So we have I just called this example item pickup. Let's fix that. Where's our chests? Chest of gold. And this is called an example chest of gold. And we're going to do the same thing for the chest of silver. Example chest of silver. Okay. So file, save, hit play. Play new game, yes. Okay, good. And chest of gold, I got sample gold. Now I click on it, it's a currency, I have it. Same thing, item pickup, sample 100 silver. Now I click on it, it's a currency, I've got 100 silver. Awesome. Now we can go over to my UMA vendor. Now we have the bank available to us. And now I can buy the items I need. Cool. So, when I do my playthroughs now, we can like just pick up the stuff that takes a long time. So some examples of this are the linen, right? Because it takes like 9 seconds to craft a linen now. Perfect. And these things keep on refilling too, so I can just basically get unlimited money. Awesome. Unlimited money is the kind of thing you want inside of a demo scene. Makes everything so much easier. You just buy everything right off the bat, right? So I can also, like, let's just go. Wow, I need a bunch more gold. Those are a gold each. Those are super expensive. Okay, cloth boots, 1 gold, right? And put the cloth boots on. Yeah, that works. Okay, so I'm a little happier. We solved at least one of the issues there. So that's pretty good. I think it's time for another export test. So assuming, let's see that I can go engine, example. Right, gotta go through the whole select dependencies bit again. And yeah, apologize, I'm still getting that YouTube error. I don't know how long that YouTube error takes to go away, like if it automatically disappears or what. My preview looks fine, like I don't see any buffering happening on that. Okay, so we're still waiting for the dependency selection here. Okay, good. And now we can right click on that. We can go export package, then uncheck include dependencies. We're going to have to remove the UMA stuff there. This is once again our worst case scenario package where we have to give people instructions on how to set it up. And we will export that. AnyRPG Engine Lite, hit save. Yeah, we'll replace that. test the import in there. Perfect. So this is our test of what happens. Yeah, okay. So this isn't actually a perfect test. I need to actually do the intermediate export thing for the perfect test, but this will give us a good idea of at least whether or not the UMA stuff works. Okay, so go ahead and import all that. And actually the other test I want to do now is, now that we've got the gold, like the never-ending gold chests and stuff, we can buy the item that gives us the spells with the cast targeting projector. And I want to test to see like if the game crashes when I attempt to use the cast targeting projector. Okay, so just wait for that stuff to import. Do you want to reload the scenes? Right, yeah, of course we want to reload that. Okay. And of course this doesn't work. I'm actually like a little bit curious now to see what happens if we look inside. Yeah, okay. None of these scripts can be loaded because this is basically the out of the box experience. So, alright. Now I guess since we actually fixed the the global library thing, we could actually ask users to just open up a new project and create or import the UMA package first. Because let's see, if we look in the UMA content directory here, where is it? It's examples. No, it's in the engine. Nope, it's up in the content. There we go. Third party content. There we go. And UMA extracted content. So I think like actually all this stuff is working. I don't have like any way of doing like a perfect test of that right now, because I haven't tried to actually make anybody into a werewolf yet, basically. So I won't know that until I try it. But let's go to the asset store, and we'll need to download UMA. The other problem with this, of course, and this is a big problem, it's way better to be able to distribute UMA, because let's say, for example, UMA makes some change which is like backwards incompatible. If I distribute this package and someone downloads UMA like a year from now, and I haven't made any changes to this package, or they've still got an old version of the package or whatever, and there's backwards incompatible changes, like it's going to be broken, right? And so that's like another issue, is that you want to be able to distribute those dependencies together, because that just helps it work right out of the box. And since our target for this engine is not super technical people, working out of the box is like the absolute highest priority for it. And this is going to be confusing to people too, because there's actually nothing wrong with the system configuration manager, but the fact that it says like please fix any compilers and assign a valid script, the absolute worst thing right now would be for some new user who has no idea to like click this button, accidentally blank that out and choose none because nothing will be available on the list, and then not realize that they've deleted a component, or have them forget which component they deleted because they were just playing around just trying to fix stuff, and then have the whole thing like break on them. Also, really bad user experience. If you haven't guessed, I am big into user experience. I always want the user experience to be the absolute smoothest for anyone who uses things, and that means packaging them and distributing them in such a way that it's impossible, or as near as impossible, for someone to break it as it can be. Because essentially the way things work in the real world is, if you figure out all the ways that somebody can possibly break it and eliminate those, someone else is going to still figure out more. But by at least eliminating all of the ways that you know that it can be broken, you've probably covered 90% of use cases. And so instead of getting like a flood of support requests from like 100 people who broke it, you'll only get a flood of support requests from 10 people, which isn't nearly as much of a flood, right? So you want to just eliminate the known unknowns, and then that way you only have to deal with the unknown unknowns, which is a much smaller set of things to deal with. Anyway, okay, so here we are. We go back to the console. Now the thing works, right? And there's no errors. There's no indication that the standard assets at this point are actually required to the user, which is actually maybe a little bit of a bad thing. Like, part of me is sitting on the fence about whether or not the standard assets should be throwing errors right now as well, because they're missing. I don't know that there's really much I can do about that. At least not at compile time anyway, maybe at runtime. Anyway, okay, so let's figure out. I'm a new user. I didn't download the standard assets. There's no more errors. Hey, this thing must work. Maybe that guy just had the standard assets in his instructions for no reason, and it's an old instruction pad and forgot to remove them. Whatever, I don't know. Anybody's thought process might be, but never assume that their thought process is yours. Always assume that if you give them the chance to think of something, they're going to think of something other than what you wanted them to think of. Make it as clear as possible. So anyway, yeah, I got some money now. This means that I can buy an example. Condensed elemental life is the one I'm looking for, because that allows me to get, what do I want? I want healing circle on the ground. Okay, good. Let's see what happens. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, basically what's happening here is the cast targeting shader is missing. So the whole ground is turning purple, and everything that I mouse over is turning purple as well. Yeah, that's pretty bad. So I'm not sure where those Open Sans fonts are being used exactly. I'm kind of a little bit curious about that. So let's go check that out. We got the Open Sans. Let's see, Open Sans. There we go. What happens if I select dependencies on Open Sans? Actually, let's just go into the directory here. There. Huh. Nothing. Yeah. I mean, so this stuff was being detected as dependencies, which means it's obviously somewhere a dependency. Unfortunately, search that apparently. So anyway, let's going back to, just checking what our user experience is going to be. Go to the standard assets, click on them, click on import. And huh. Well, isn't that weird that I see? Okay. This I don't get. UMA itself is literally including files directly from the standard assets in their package. If UMA can include files from the standard assets in their package, I should be able to, right? So let's look at this SkyCar body normals and see where it is in our... Yeah, there it is right there in the... Okay, so UMA included standard assets in their package. If they can do it, I can do it. Like, I want to screenshot this or something, because like if I get rejected for including standard assets in my package, I'm going to point them to this and say, you guys either need to take down UMA, and I'll make a lot of enemies when I do that, or you guys need to accept my package and change your rules and be a little bit more consistent about it. So actually, that's kind of good news, because I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to submit my package to the Unity Asset Store with the standard assets in it. I think UMA gets away with it because basically they put the assets somewhere else. They moved them into the SkyCar texture and didn't put them in a folder called standard assets, and didn't put that in the root directory. I don't know if this was an oversight on the part of the Unity reviewers, or whether or not that FAQ item that basically says like, yeah, you can include tiny, well, implies that you can include tiny little pieces of it, is, yeah, the right way to go. So that's actually really good news. I'm really happy about that, because this means I am just going to post the full package, the works, to both my website, and I'm going to submit the full package to the Unity Asset Store. So anyway, let's just confirm that we can fix this by grabbing the projector shader there, and then we just want to grab the fonts directory as well. Okay. So we're going to import that stuff. And then we're going to do a real quick playtest, just to make sure that our cast targeting projector actually works. And let's see here, new game, yes. Okay. And, oh yeah, right, I gotta go buy that from him. Right, grab a chest of silver, click on the money, gain the money, go over to the guy, just go through this so that we can actually purchase stuff from him. Look for example, elemental life, click on that, learn the healing circle spell, complete that, and that's a little better. Yeah, okay, cool. So, like, as long as, yeah, awesome. Basically, as long as we re-add it back, then it'll work. Okay, so that's been some awfully fun testing. Essentially, we now know exactly what the user experience is going to be in pretty much any circumstance. So I think actually, to be totally honest, wow, I think that I can actually take the engine. I can remove the oh no, I already did that. Yeah, right, of course. Third-party content. Oh, I gotta do that in my main package. Yeah. Okay, let's go back there and try that again. So, we don't actually need any. Where is it here? Third-party content, UMA. Essentially, we don't need this stuff. The extracted content, anyway, does not need to be in a separate directory. So far as I can tell, all of this stuff is loadable due to those checkboxes. All the testing seems to suggest that anyway. So that's good news, because this extracted content stuff was kind of a pain anyway. So I think what this means is we can just delete that. And I want to delete UMA. And I want to re-import UMA. And then after I re-import it, I'm going to pull it into my package, and I'm going to pull those fonts and that projector into my package from the standard assets, because honestly, if UMA can include 4 items from the standard assets, I can include 4 items from the standard assets. Yeah. So yeah, that looks good. There's those 4 items that UMA once included. Import that. Okay. So let's delete the standard assets directory from our test project here. Delete the UMA folder from our test project here. Delete the AnyRPG folder from our test project here. Actually, you know what? We don't even need this test project anymore. Maybe we do. Now I'll kill it. Don't save. I want to restart a new, completely fresh test project to test this import. So we'll go into this one. This is our AnyRPG import test 2. Actually, we'll remove that as well. Let's see, we're still importing UMA on side of things. Okay, good. Now we can go into our Unity hub and delete import test2, remove from list, remove from list. What? I just told it to remove a thing from the list and it decided to instead stick it at the top of the list. Well, that's good to know that remove from list actually means move to top of list. Okay. Now it decided to remove it. Okay. I think that's a race condition in the Unity hub. Race conditions are conditions where developers haven't accounted for two things happening at the same time, and apparently you can delete a reference to a project and have it recreated because it pops to the top of the list because it tries to search for it while you're in the middle of deleting it. Alright. So, yeah, alright, now we've got our main package, and I'm going to go into AnyRPG, and we're going to go into the engine, and we're going to go into third-party content, and we're going to go into fonts, and we're going to make a new folder called Liberation Sans, and we're going to toss that stuff in there. And then we're going to go into the standard assets, and we're going to go into the fonts folder, and we're going to grab the Open Sans folder, and we're going to pull it into here because Unity doesn't own Open Sans, so we can redistribute that. I'm just going to ignore the fact that it's part of the standard assets. However, we're also going to do the exact same thing that Unity did, and we're going to create a new folder just called assets, not standard assets, because that's exactly what they did. And we're going to create a new folder called shader. And then we are going to take the standard assets. Projector shader. Where is that thing anyway? Projector light. It's right here under projectors, shaders. So we'll take the light and move it over to projector light. Alright. And that's good. So now, what else do we want to do? We want to drag UMA into the engine third-party content because UMA is heavily integrated with our system, and we don't want users to download it and get 75 error messages as soon as they import our package. That's just silly. Good, so UMA is now moved into there, and theoretically now, when I export my AnyRPG directory, I will get only the stuff that I actually need. So we're going to take the engine and the example in it. Whoops. Oh no, 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 no. Oh god, no. Unity is about to make a copy of those two directories. No. I accidentally dragged the mouse while I had them highlighted or something, and now this is like what happened that one time when it decided, oh man, and this is like, of course, the cancel button is always grayed out. Whenever you actually need to cancel anything in Unity, the cancel button is either grayed out and not working, or as soon as you click it, it crashes, as I demonstrated earlier in my video. Oh man. This is so sad. Well, at least we can move it around this time. That's a change from the whole like freezing up thing. I have no idea what it's doing. I think it's duplicating those directories somewhere or moving them. Probably duplicating them. The fact that it seems to be wanting to import stuff, yeah, means it's almost certainly duplicating them. And I think last time this happened, I actually cut off my stream. But see, the thing is, these development live streams, I don't like to filter them and I don't like to hide stuff. And so, if the Unity editor is really this much of a pain in the butt to work with, if it really does weird stuff like this all the time that you can't cancel, if it really crashes all the time, unlike all the other tutorials out there who filter that stuff out and just show you like a quick 5 minute thing that actually takes you like 2.5 hours, I want this to be the absolute unfiltered experience, and that includes all of the crashes, all of the bugs, all of this garbage here where the editor has uncancelable actions that force you to wait like 30 minutes and just waste like hours of time. I kid you not, like I've wasted like probably over 20 to 30 hours while working with the Unity editor since I started this project, watching stuff like this that you can't cancel happen, like just accidentally move the mouse the wrong way or accidentally click on one part of the screen. Like, there really needs to be like more pop-up confirmations when the editor is about to do something huge like this. Like, hey, this action might take like several minutes. Are you really sure you want to do this? Was that not an accidental click? That's why, like, even, I mean, it's the very first thing I put in my game. When I click the new game window, you notice it just doesn't go and start a new game on you. It gives you a pop-up saying, hey, did you really mean to click that? Because there was a couple times when I accidentally clicked it and I didn't mean to. And I was like, wow, I'm glad I added that confirmation pop-up. So, alright, what just happened? I don't know. We're still frozen up here. So, still frozen up, unresponsive, editor not doing anything at all that I can tell. Okay, and we're back. Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Copied the directories. Man. Okay. So now we have to go through and fix all that and delete it again. And why not? Let's record this and stream it because this is exactly what is like working with Unity. No reason to hide this. Alright, let's try this again. So, hold down engine, control click, hold down example. Don't let your cat hit your wrist while you're doing that. Make sure there are no cats and dogs in the room, anything that can bump you and accidentally cause you to drag these things and make duplicate folders. Right click, select dependencies. Alright, let's try this now. Maybe that's the key, eh? Unity developers don't own cats. None of them ever had anything walk across their keyboard or hit their wrist while they're developing. I don't own cats either, but it seems like a very realistic thing that could happen. Alright, so now we're waiting for it to go through and find dependencies. And we're still waiting. indication that the program is doing anything. The only way that you can tell that Unity is doing anything at all right now is basically just by looking at the task manager and then looking at the CPU usage. So it's like, yeah, it's doing something. Of course, you wouldn't know that by looking at the program, because the program doesn't give you a pop-up window telling you that it's doing something, nor is there any indication like a little bar down here, which is sort of, you know, the standard Windows, hey, I'm doing something thing that you're supposed to do when you're doing something. Okay, good. Wow, 4,093 objects. Okay, so now we can right click on that and we can choose export package. We're going to uncheck include dependencies, because once again that box does nothing useful. It just literally grabs everything in the project regardless of whether or not it's actually a dependency. Cool, so we've got our third-party content directory, we've got our engine, we've got our examples. Interesting. Wow, you know what I think I want to do here? I need these textures to be in the UMA directory, not in the standard assets directory. So, yuck, 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 yuck. I'm gonna have to go through this whole process again. Okay, so basically, let's delete the standard assets. Then we're gonna ask UMA to re-import, and this time UMA will import the standard assets into its folder structure. Which is exactly what we want. Of course, it'll only be those 4 files. They'll be in the root directory. The rest of the stuff will just maintain where it is in our directories, likely, hopefully. Yep, exactly. So, that's a long list. It's kind of hard to see. Weird. Okay. So, if weird. So I would have expected that when we imported UMA, it would have recognized those. Let's try that again, because UMA should have recognized that it needs the cars, and it should have recognized that they were missing. I didn't see them on the list though. Maybe I actually have to delete the UMA package and re-import the whole thing from scratch again. I mean, that doesn't make sense, but that's what we might have to do to get this to work. All assets are Okay, just a second. If we try to import the standard assets now, are those files, did UMA like actually put them in my directory? Let's figure this out. Because I don't see anything called car normals, and I think it was called car normals. But maybe I'm missing something. Oh, they are. What do you know? It's Skycar body normals. Okay, that's why I didn't find them. Perfect. So, well, that's neat. Basically, UMA, I guess, recognized that its folder had been moved, and it properly put them under there. So, that's fantastic. This is exactly what we want. Okay, good. So the UMA stuff is under the UMA directory. We'll get the standard assets back in here, and then everything else that relies on the standard assets will hopefully actually start working. Hmm. That's odd. Are these like compile errors? Weird. Like, why aren't they clearing? I mean, that's odd. So, like, that's so messed up. It was working perfectly. Like, I don't know what just happened there. Unity standard assets dot image effects. Did I have image effects unchecked or something? That's uh maybe I did. I thought, okay, let's try importing that again. Maybe I did have that unchecked. No, apparently not. All assets from this are already in your project. So if all the assets are in my project, then why in the world can't it find Unity standard assets.image effects? What in the world is going on now? Like, that makes no sense. We deleted a package, we re-imported it, and now all of a sudden we have errors that we didn't have before. So, why? Hmm. So the image, why is the image effects folder empty? Like, what is... The old image effects have been deprecated and moved to the asset store. We recommend that you use the new post-processing one. Can I copy that? Does this mean... Okay, see, this is what I was talking about. This is precisely what I was talking about. This is exactly what's going to happen if we have to not include the Unity package. Because, like, I think basically what just happened is I had an old copy of the standard assets. It's been around for a few months. We had some other things that were relying on it. And now the new copy that I downloaded doesn't have it in it. So it broke everything. And the exact same thing is going to happen with the package. I guarantee you, if Unity makes us not include UMA in this package, somebody's going to download UMA a year from now. There's going to be a non-backwards compatible change. It's going to break everything, and they're going to be like, WTF, mate. So I guess we need to open up the asset store and download that stuff. Legacy image effects, open in Unity, download, import. Oh man, what the heck, really? So now, like, we've got this other issue here where, like, okay, so we have bloom and flares.cs, and we've got bloom and flares editor and all this other stuff in different places. Yeah, so like that's what happens, kids, when they deprecate packages and make things even more confusing for you. Whoa, 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 no thank you. Okay. So I hit the no thanks button, and no thanks is apparently equivalent to yes, I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want, regardless of whether you told me no thanks or not. Awesome. That's just as rad as the cancel buttons that don't do anything or crash the thing. And there's like, I can't even make a backup of, oh, come on, really? Seriously? Okay. So, yeah, like, apparently, that didn't fix anything. And now we have even more errors. Awesome. And, like, the problem with trying to make a backup of this particular project is it's got 40 gigs of stuff in it. So, that's, like, out of the question, pretty much. Okay, so, like, I don't really know what to do about this. Of course, it just, like, totally broke everything. Man, can I get my old standard assets back, please? Okay, so why is this broken? Like, really? Depth of field. Depth of field deprecated. Okay. So it's telling us, like, okay, is obsolete, use draw procedure now instead. Unity upgradable draw procedure indicators. Okay. What am I supposed to do about that? Okay, whatever, fine, Unity. Go ahead and destroy my package. I don't care. See if I care. I have exportable packages backed up. Okay, well, that's good. We've only got one error now. usually what I like to do is when third-party packages contain stuff like this that's just not working, we just delete them. Alright, so hopefully that's all fixed now. Unity is frozen up again. Alright. So I feel like after those scary error messages, it's time to do a playtest before I export this. Alright, new game, yes. And no, really? Okay. Yeah, so like apparently importing the new standard assets package breaks Unity, and now it's wow, what happened there? Freezing up. Okay. Okay, just a second. What was that? Switch to simulation mode because local asset bundle server was off and no remote server URL was specified. One of these must be set in order to actually use your asset bundles. I feel like that's a total lie. Because I swear we saw asset bundles working without a local asset bundle server being active. So I guess this is what's taking a long time right here, is this whole switch to simulation mode stuff. And I suppose maybe we're just supposed to wait? Okay, now I feel like I should not have deleted all that extracted content, and I should have just left it extracted, because this asset bundle stuff is like balls. Anyway, clearly, as you can tell, we have the cloth, which means that obviously it's working. And I'm willing to bet that if I grab a bunch of silver and I go buy the challenger stuff, which is what's inside the asset. Hello? Oh, 1 gold, right. I'm just not rich enough, that's all. Okay, we'll go buy 1 piece of the challenger gear. We will buy the challenger chest after we get some gold. I should get like a message here, not enough money to purchase that or something. Right, and then we put the chest on and it works. Okay, so quite clearly that error message is lying to us, and we don't actually need an asset bundle server running because these come from asset bundles. So that is a really bad message. Let's go into the example load game manager here and just take a look at our UMA DCS and then just look at all this stuff. Yeah, okay, who knows. Alright, now this kind of sucks because we weren't getting this before. So our startups were not this slow before. They just weren't. Switch to simulation mode, and like, what is this? Maybe this is part of the new UMA thing we downloaded or something, but they were definitely not like this before. So switch to simulation mode because local asset bundle server was off and no remote server URL was specified. Yeah, clearly not. That's wrong. Quite misleading. I don't know, that's just it. That's just so dumb because now I don't know, like, I guess the only thing to do is export it and test. Is it like this when I import it into a new thing? Is everyone going to suffer from this same issue of the game taking forever to load in the editor? So, select dependencies. Alright, still waiting for it to go through and find its dependencies. Man, all this just because we had 4 files in the wrong directory and we wanted them in the right directory. Wow. Alright, still waiting for Unity to go through and find all the dependencies. And okay, finally, okay, so we're going to right click on that. We're going to go export package. We're going to uncheck the include all the stuff that you don't want to include button. And there we go, that's a lot better. Okay. So this is going to be the AnyRPG Engine full Unity package. Now, you know what? This is the export because the full package is actually the one that includes the full package. I'm going to export out of the other one because the full package actually includes the layers and tags and stuff which we need to have this thing working out of the box. Alright. Wow, I swear if this gets rejected from the Unity Asset Store, I'm going to like reply with this live stream and tell them to watch it and go, are you guys seriously going to expect a user to put up with that sort of like user experience? Because this video has a perfect illustration of exactly all the kind of stuff that can go wrong when you leave anything in the hands of your users in terms of like configuration of stuff. So, okay, this is our export Unity package. Alright. Alright, and now we want to go into our Unity Hub, go into the AnyRPG Engine. Alright, this is good. So everything is deleted from here. This is actually kind of interesting. Hey, we got this untitled scene that doesn't actually exist anywhere. Neat. So anyway, import package, custom package, AnyRPG Engine export, hit open, and then this is where, once this thing imports in here, we're going to do the full export, which will give us the package with all the settings that we need. While we're doing that, we might as well start a new project real quickly here. And this will be another import test. So new AnyRPG import test, and you know what we need to do. Oops, there. I need to go into my documents folder and Unity projects, and I need to delete the two previous import tests. Right, okay, and this is the import list. Yeah, it looks good. We'll import all that stuff into here. Meanwhile, we're deleting all the old import tests. Good, and now we can create that. Okay, good. So this is our import test, and we're ready to start the import as soon as this one is done importing and allows us to export. Okay, so we just gotta wait for all of this stuff here. I think at some point, I think if Unity approves this thing with the UMA stuff in it, I'm actually going to tear out those asset stuff out of the UMA asset bundles again, just to prevent having to actually load those asset bundles, because it just dramatically increases the startup time. And it's a really unfriendly user experience to have the startup time increase by that much, along with those silly error messages that tell you that one of these must be set in order to actually use your asset bundles, which is completely incorrect because obviously they work because our guys were wearing them. So, we want to keep this as simple as possible for the users and not confuse the heck out of them whenever we can help it. Okay, finally. So now, tools, AnyRPG, export, full export. This will bring all of our build settings and our layers with us. It's actually amazing how much faster this export goes when you don't have to do the select dependencies bit. Because we skipped several minutes worth of dependency searching there. Alright, so just waiting for our package to compress. Okay, good. Looks like we got it. So then we want to go to our D drive, and where do we put this stuff again? Projects, Unity, AnyRPG builds, releases, Alpha 0.6, artifacts. Okay. So this is our engine, and actually what we wanted to do was move that there, not copy it. And okay, so good. So that was our old full. I'm actually going to name this .backup because this particular Unity package had the extracted UMA assets in it. And if Unity approves having UMA built into the package, I'm going to have those assets unextracted so we don't have to do all that BS global library freeze up, halt for 30 seconds at the beginning when you load your game and load asset stuff. It's a far better experience when that stuff is not inside those silly asset bundles. Just way smoother, way quicker. It's kind of pointless to have them in there. So we'll keep that as a backup, and we'll be renaming this one to the full Unity package. And now we can test the import of that package. So let's go into our import test here, and now we're going to pretend we're a user again. And we're going to watch how dramatically different the user experience is here when we actually include everything in the package. So let's open this up, decompress it. It's still going to take a while to import. It's still going to have to go through and do a bunch of compilation and stuff, but after it imports, hopefully we don't have to go through all the pain that we had to go through when we tried sending this out without its dependencies. And this is all that extra stuff that you see when we pulled in the project settings. And down here we get our tags and stuff, so that's good. Okay, so yeah, still waiting for that to compile. And if this thing works, then this package that I just created right now is the one I'm going to be uploading to AnyRPG.org. And that way, regardless of whether Unity requires us to stick like a gimped version of our package on the asset store that users have to spend 40 minutes setting up, we at least have like a full package somewhere. Because I'm just like, I have this absolutely horrifying feeling that if they do go that route, that exactly what happened to me is going to happen to one of my users. That they're going to download a package several months down the road, which is not backwards compatible, which I wasn't allowed to distribute the correct version of, and they're going to get all these errors, and they're just going to be like, what is this garbage thing? Why doesn't it work? I followed these instructions. Things are broken. And we don't want that, because we like our users. We don't like to annoy our users. Alright, so still waiting for this import to complete here. Awesome. There it is. See, look at that. That is the kind of user experience we want. No error messages. Awesome. And if we go into the engine, no, the example scenes, and we go to our scenes, and we go to our example load game manager, and we double click on that, and we click play. One, two, interesting. So this is kind of weird because, I mean, we switched to simulation mode, but it happened like way faster. I'm not really sure why simulation mode switches are so slow in the other one, but okay, let's test a couple of things. Basically, we're gonna grab some money. We're gonna do that. We're gonna buy a cloth robe. We're gonna put on the cloth robe. We're gonna go run over to the combat scene. We're just gonna make sure that nothing crashes when we launch into the combat scene. This is looking pretty good. We got some guys over here, some rock golems. Rock golem guy can come over. He can not aggro me. Okay. Huh. Like my rock golem doesn't have an aggro range or something. Well, at least his attacks are as strong as they should be. He is kicking my butt, which is the way it should be, because this guy's got like a toughness rating that's pretty high. So now we can get back up, and we're alive again. Okay, good. So this is the, I mean, other than the rock golem's not aggroing, which is kind of interesting. I kind of want to figure out what is the matter with my rock golem unit here. Weird, he's got like a aggro radius of 20. Yeah, weird. That's so odd. He totally should have aggroed me. Do you know what I want to see? Like, do the zombies and bunnies aggro me? Did aggroing get broken? Let's find out. I mean, because aggroing is kind of important. I don't want to release this package with aggro broken. Let's just try playing through the quest line a little bit here. Okay. Alright, so continuing, we're just going to keep on playing through there. Alright, and now we go over to this guy, we can talk to him. Okay, this is all good. Then we just gotta learn skinning from this guy. Okay. Let's go over to our combat scene. And let's go run over. Okay, good. That is so odd. So the bunnies are fine. Like, they're aggroing me. I honestly don't know what's wrong with the rock golems. Oh, you know what? I bet you my character had no faction before, which meant he was neutral. And it's probably part of my code that a character that's neutral automatically just returns 0 as the disposition. It probably didn't make it to the bottom of the code that checks that. It's not something I'm going to bother like fixing immediately. We can still get the package out without it. Your players can have a faction most of the game anyway. But that's just an interesting thing to note. Okay, so looks good. So I think I'm pretty happy with that, and I think I'm going to upload that Unity package to AnyRPG.org. I can't submit it to the asset store quite yet for consideration because I have to actually write a bunch of documentation and include it in the package. But I will do that very soon, make some tutorials, write some docs, and get that submitted. In the meantime, if you want to download the package, by the time you can watch this video, it'll probably be posted on AnyRPG.org. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. If you like this kind of content or you want to see more of it in the future, then thumbs up the videos, subscribe to the Cohesion YouTube channel, or just leave a note in the comments letting me know what you'd like to see. Until next time,